And welcome to the latest edition of the 941 Sports Zone, episode number 5. Hard to believe we've already done 4 of these, and we're going to
Wait
chop
till
down
we're
number 5.
wait till we're 9 years in. Then
Yeah,
you're gonna say, "What happened in the last 9 years?"
exactly. The 941 Sports Zone brought to you, as always, by our good friends at Mighty Dog Roofing of Southwest Florida. You know, John, they're locally owned and nationally backed. That's a good combo. Delivering exceptional roofing for homes and businesses all along the Gulf Coast. Give them a call at 941 251 4257. That's 941 251 4257. We got tons to get to today, but Saturday night, you
Yeah,
attended something quite special in the city of Venice. Why don't you tell us about it?
I just had to come on and let you guys know that I've been a part of a lot of really spectacular events in and around Venice High School sports and whatnot. But there was a new Venice High School. Actual Venice High School is the ones who are doing this now. Venice High School Sports Athletics Hall of Fame, and we inducted the first class on Saturday night in a banquet in a very big banquet style setting. The setting was at Plantation Golf and Country Club. Fantastic venue. Just everything about the way things were designed and set up and dressed up and everything else was just top notch. It looked spectacular. About well over 200 people were in attendance,
Wow.
and we got to induct some. The criteria was put together. And I will tell you that there's probably a possibility that there'll be some tweaking to it because you have to look at the numbers of people you're going to put in and all that kind of stuff. And the first year, you always you launch and you say, okay, let's see what happens. And it was great, but there'll definitely be some different changes. So inductees were 2 teams. The 1998 girls volleyball team, the first state champion that Venice ever had. 2000 football state championship team. Then going to individual folks, there was Jim Powell, legendary Jim Powell, football coach and athletic director of Venice High School for numerous years, from the late to mid '60s all through the '90s, and he was also a coach and part of that 2000 state championship team. He was an assistant coach, but he was inducted. Trey Smith, 2-time Player of the Year, state championship as well with the 2000 team. Running back who went on to play at Auburn in the Canadian Football League. Jeremy Cook, who was a 2-time individual state wrestling champion from his sophomore year. He lost in the semifinals his sophomore year, and then won 92 matches in a row to go state champion, and then also was a contributor for the high school baseball team as well. And he's actually a coach at Venice High School now, wrestling and baseball. And from there was Mike Rivera, catcher for the Venice Indians, back-to-back state championships.
Yep.
National championship at University of Florida. He played for the under-18 World Championship team, was just an All-American a few times, so big-time accolades to him. Cheryl Mays, who was a golfing champion, 1986, she won this girls' state championship, and there was no classification. It was every girl played each other, and she beat every one of them. And so she was a state champion, and we inducted her. Dana Dumas, 2005, 5A Class A State Player of the Year, 2005 state championship team. And then I'm forgetting one person here. That's Jeremy. No, that's everybody. That should have been 6 inductees and then 2 teams. So, but again, great evening, unbelievable, spectacular, big fundraiser. We haven't tallied the total up, but it'll be a big money number. Scholarships are going out this year, one individual for each for a girl and boy athlete. So it's going to be it's going to turn out to be a unbelievable first swing at it, and an unbelievable continuation down the road for this new Hall of Fame. And I think it's going to be it was so well received by the inductees that I think that alone will project it further down the road. And everybody who was there, who was a part of the community involved with everything, was equally as impressed. So I think that's a tip of the cap to Athletic Director Larry Shannon, at Venice High School did a great job, and the committees and everybody else who did it, volunteers who did everything that they could to make it a successful evening. So just wanted to get it out there. Kudos to them, and that's local right there. So we wanted to make sure that got noticed. It was worthy of it.
So is this? I assume this is going to be an annual thing.
Annual.
Is this the time frame? Do you want to maybe do it before football starts?
Well, so there was again, they got it out there. We've talked as a committee to doing something maybe towards the end of the school year, because obviously you'd have that rolling into whatever for the scholarships and whatnot. So we'll see if that is the case. And if it would be, we'd have maybe a little 9-month hiatus instead of a year, but that wouldn't be a big bother at all. I think in both cases, especially for the venue in particular, in both May and September, there's not a lot of things going on at the golf. There's members, but not many members. So there's a lot of opportunity to use the venue again, which would be great. And obviously, with the momentum, I don't think that people would be fatigued by what happened. I think the energy is going to propel them to keep going with that. So we'll see. To be determined.
Okay, fair enough. All right.
Yeah.
Busy week in high school sports. Let's kind of transition over to the week 5. Can you believe week 5 already? That means we're crossing over next week. We'll be more than halfway through the year.
And you always, because September, especially the last couple of years, and I hate to bring up the H word, but hurricanes, are foremost on people's minds. And you're almost like, come on, get through September. We don't want to have to deal with this again, because we had a multiple amount of hurricanes in the last few years. So yeah, you're rooting on the time to go by. Then you look and say, well, wait a second, it's chewing up my football. What's going on here? 5 or 6 weeks. And for teams that don't make the playoffs, your season's done in about 4 or 5 weeks. It's over, even with the multiple bye weeks. So yeah, it's a little different for sure.
Some interesting results. You were on the call of Venice and the First Academy out of Orlando. I don't know if we shared this on the air or off the air, but when this was originally booked, the athleticism of the First Academy was not known very well, and boy, in the first half they really unleashed the athletes, and I'm not sure that Venice was ready for it, to be truthfully honest with you. That's not a cut against Coach Peacock or anything, but they're just they had some serious leads.
So I always say to people, and that people say, well, how do you know a 4-star from a 3-star from a 5-star, whatever it may be? I think the big leap is 3-star to 4-star, because it's 5-star. It's almost like a weird kind of category. But and you'll see a 3-star athlete, and you're like, wow, that's the best player in the field, and you'll know it, okay, or the better players. But a true 4-star athlete does things that has a little different look to it. When they hit you, it's like a different volume of pain that goes with it. They like, you hit them, and it doesn't matter. They're not 295 pounds. They're 205 pounds, and they're playing safety, and they hit a guy going full speed and who's a great player and drop him to the ground like he was shot or something. You see it. You see the speed, the top end speed, like a long pass downfield. You're like, oh, that's way overthrown. Next thing you know, that 4-star guy is 3 yards past the guy covering him, because he put it into that gear that other people just don't have.
Right.
And so arm length, body type, you name it, you start to see it. And when you see a bunch of them on the field, and it's like you say to yourself, I'll say defensively, you break a tackle from one 4-star guy, then the other 4-star guys there and half
cleans it up
to clean it up, and you're like, whoa, okay, I just went through 2 massive hits. So that's what you saw with First Academy, athletes that were 4-star level athletes across the board, who you can't get off the block like you do against other people. You can't run them down. You can't you can't miss on when you need to flip your hips and turn and run with them. You have to be on it, because if they make the play, or the throw is there, or they make the right block, it's a house call, and it doesn't matter who they're playing against. It's just that level. And that's what First Academy brought. One player in particular stood out who wasn't even somebody that, was number 6. I'm sorry, I don't remember his name, but he accounted for probably 80% of their yardage. And he was just, he just made play after play after. He played wide receiver, and then he played running back, and he was better than the guy before him. Yeah. And then also they had a cornerback, number 5, who supposedly is committed to Nebraska, who, when you see guys that they read the play right, they jump the route, they do certain things, and they're making plays and not, it looks like it should be pass interference, but you look at it again, you're like, no, he just went over the top of the player and made a play. And then when they tackle, you're right on the ground kind of thing. So yeah, some superior athletes. Great comeback by the Indians in the second half. Yeah, showed a lot there. I think there was probably more to feel good about than you would normally have in a bet in a loss. But we all know John Peacock. He does not like to lose, no matter what he doesn't take any silver linings from that whatsoever. You and I'll paint a silver lining around it. Mm-hmm. But it was a tough loss. He didn't want to lose that game for nothing. But obviously, a tip of the cap to them. They played a very, very sound football game.
Led 21-0 at the half. Venice cut it to 7 in the fourth quarter, but just couldn't get that tying touchdown. 21-14 First Academy. Venice falls to 2-2 on the season with that makeup game looming possibly against Miami Northwestern. I think both teams are going to need that. I think that game's getting played.
Well, I think you're right, but I think it's funny we say this because the makeup of the two teams is. And this is going to be another episode for us at some point. But this is there's going to be a whole different look to these teams because what was going on in week 2 is not going to be what's going on in week 11 if that's where they play. No, so it's going to be different. So we'll see. Interesting scenario to follow along and see how either team prevails over the next couple of weeks.
North Fort Myers and Lemon Bay got into quite a shootout. John, I was listening to the game on the radio. It was, it was a 5-point game at halftime, and both teams scored 2 touchdowns before the clock crossed the 10-minute mark of the third quarter. And all of a sudden, it was just a track meet, and North Fort Myers ended up winning 55-46. Serrano for Lemon Bay had 6 touchdowns in the losing effort. That's a wild game
there. Yeah, no doubt about it. And you hate to see Lemon Bay on the short side of that one, but it's in those kind of games you look around and the dust settles. You say, "What's the score? What happened over here?" You know what I mean? Yeah. So I'm sure it was entertaining for the fans.
Yes. And it gets them ready for district play, which we'll talk about in a little bit. Fort Charlotte had a 17-0 halftime lead on Sebring. Sebring came out and scored 21 unanswered in the third quarter. Fort Charlotte had to score late to win 24-21 over Sebring. Maybe a little Venice hangover.
Rich, that's the other. You said it. I can only imagine that it had to be a hangover. You gear up for that game week before last, I should say, and you come out with an L, and you there's a little bit of, it's kind of hard to motivate your team to say, hey, you know what? Here's the next one. We got to play as good as and play. Yeah, all right, we know. But we just played that team before us, and there's no way these guys are that good. And then all of a sudden you get smacked around real quick, and you're like, whoa, what just happened? I've seen it happen in high school more times than you can imagine. We're coming off a tough game, win or lose, and then the team is convinced they can just roll out the carpet and win it, and that's what happens. And so I'm sure Coach Ingman will have a spirited practice this week for the upcoming talent or teams, I should say, coming up for this week.
Yeah, they have a short week, as does Lemon Bay. We'll talk about that in a bit. Right, yeah. Charlotte with a nice win. They've struggled a little bit early part of the season, and they beat their main rival, Fort Myers. Charlotte and Fort Myers is a series that goes way back. Right. Sam Serrani's been at Fort Myers forever and ever. 13-9, the Tarpons win that game. That raised my eyebrows a little bit.
Well, same here, and I'll tell you, there is a lot of I don't want to say parity, but there's a lot of teams that are losing one that you don't think they're going to lose, and then they're winning one you don't expect because you know. and Charlotte fits that criteria to the T. Some of the games you're like, oh, okay, they beat Northport, but then they didn't look as good as the next week, and now this week the result shows that they beat Fort Myers, and it means a lot. It's a big game for them. So
yes.
Hats off to them to stay focused and stay on point for what I'm sure is going to be a run toward the playoffs.
Imagine how many athletes were on the field for this game. Booker and Naples Lely. The Tornadoes win at 28-14 to move to 4-1. They're undefeated in the state. Their only loss was at Auburn. Nice win for Booker as they get set for their district action.
Yeah, and like I said, just talking to a few coaches that I know and saying about Booker, and they're like, it's they've the athletes that they have. If they start to really hit their stride, boy, that's going to be a tough matchup for anybody to play Booker. It's going to be really tough. So if they get it together, look out state championships. I'll tell you that they're ready to go.
Semifinal runs in the last 3 years for the Tornadoes. Riverview, no problem with Northport. 50-6 was the final. And
Riverview and we'll soon look at Cardinal Mooney. They've been the most consistent teams all year. And you just see that even though I know Mooney took one on the chin with Cherry Creek out of Colorado, but nonetheless, they've been solid. They've seemed like that they're the most consistent two teams, and Riverview just putting up numbers as far as, again, we bragged about Port Charlotte, but Riverview as well has thrown up some good numbers. That normally Riverview's past last couple of years, they've been sort of a grinded out team. If I'm recalling,
yes, no, you're remembering correctly.
And so I think that to see them put up numbers, and to always having sort of a stout defense is interesting to see. I'm very intrigued by both of those schools to see how they can keep that consistency all year.
Out of door with a nice win, 40-29 over Sarasota Christian. St. Stephen's squeaked one out against Seven Rivers Christian, 21-20. Couple of small schools getting big wins.
Yeah, and ODA and Sarasota Christian, now that they're both playing 11-man football, that is a natural rivalry. Mm-hmm. That that Sarasota Christian, they definitely put that one on their calendar with stars around it. Again, another great offensive night for Sarasota Christian. Coach Ben always sending me that email. I really appreciate him doing that. And quarterback Ben Milliken, another big night, over 300 yards passing. But ODA, I think media day that we did this year, when we talk to Coach Holloway and talk about ODA, there's a possibility that ODA, if they really wanted to up the ante a little bit, let's just say, from the school itself, and really invested in the idea about the football team, I think ODA could be a 1A power. If they, outside of where they're moving up to FHSAA football, and be a 1A power, I think they could do it if they really wanted to. I just think that they haven't. Every school has its own sort of mission statement, or whatever you want to call it, the way they want to do things, and that's good for them. But they're a draw. They would definitely get players. I think that I could see the day where ODA and Cardinal Mooney are rivals. You know what I mean? And especially as the communities grow in Lakewood Ranch and all around this area, all of a sudden the population base grows a little bit. And, we always watch the teams from Miami and from Orlando and Jacksonville. Boy, we can name some schools that are those small schools from those areas that are just juggernauts. Trinity Christian up in Jacksonville. Obviously, you've got Chaminade down in Miami, but all over the place. Even in the Panhandle, you got those 1A schools that play for North Florida Christian over the years, and they put guys all over the place in D1, and they're tough teams, very tough teams. I could see it happen at ODA, but that's not for me to decide. That's my opinion. That's not for me to decide.
Manatee County scores. Manatee gets back on the winning track. They beat IMG White 31-14. Palmetto 21-6 over Calvary Christian.
I don't know Calvary Christian, but there might be another H word there. Another hangover might be there after that Paris community game. So
yes,
I don't know. I would have expected to see a little higher number on the offensive side.
Southeast 52, Cypress Creek 6. The Seminoles continue to play very good football, and Parish Community, nice bounce back, 40-6 over Braden River. Braden River's been playing pretty well. Parish Community is clearly the second best team in that district, but they're going to have to go through Palmetto if they want to make a run.
I think if you look at their numbers, they play really good defense. I just think they had a bad matchup with Palmetto. I think we're going to see a rewind with that one.
Yep.
Yeah, rematch. No doubt about it.
One other score, Bradenton Christian beat Countryside Christian by the count of 20-6. So district play begins in earnest this week. I know some districts, bigger districts, such as the district with Palmetto and Parish Community, have already played a couple of district games.
Right.
Mostly everybody is in district play this week. There's 2 Thursday games, mentioned them earlier. Port Charlotte travels to South Fort Myers to open district play. Yes, it is. Very tough place to play.
Yeah, tough place to play.
Lemon Bay will open district play at Island Coast. Both those are Thursday night games. Again, Lee County having officials issues still. So there's 1 or 2 games every week that are played on Thursday. And those are, it's 1 day less of preparation. And it doesn't sound like much, but when the games matter that much more, puts a lot of pressure on the coaching staffs.
That's what the football coach is saying, but the AD is saying, I'm not getting my Friday night people coming here because they got to work the next day. So it's a double whammy from depending on what chair you're sitting in at the high school that's going to play on Thursday. And so you that extra one less day. Now, does it help you maybe the next week a little extra time? It could be. I mean, I can see that, but I think it's detrimental to the teams that are playing on Thursday night, especially with a game like that.
Friday's bigger games, I put down Lehigh at Venice, but Sarasota and Riverview, this is some rivalry, and between them they have a loss and a tie. They're both been playing really good football. Obviously, we've been singing the praises of Riverview pretty much all year long, but this is a rivalry game, and Sarasota's also played extremely well. They're 3-1 on the season. This will be some game at Riverview on Friday night.
I think, looking at it from the perspective, if there's an advantage that I can see based on what I'm hearing and what I'm seeing as far as reports and whatnot, that I think it's going to be if Riverview's offense is clicking, it might be a tough night for Sarasota to try to hold them down. But I will say this, Sarasota has been playing if Riverview's been consistent, then so is Sarasota. I think they're both they've both with the new coaching at Riverview, and then the last year Coach Campbell coming in at Sarasota. I think that they're both on the rise, and I think that this is going to be a significant game for them because winner probably has an inside track on a playoff spot.
Yes, sir.
And so that would be a big deal. So this is an early season big district matchup in the 7A district in this area. That's a big matchup right there. Obviously, Venice playing Lehigh, you said earlier, is another matchup in the district. But Lehigh has struggled a little bit the last couple of years. They had the big running back a few years back and made the playoffs, but I think will be a struggle. We'll see. Venice should be coming out of this very, very hot and heavy and ready to go for that football game.
Totally agree with that. All right, so those are just some of the big games coming up this Friday night. And of course, we'll recap them for you again next week. Before we get to college football, we remind you that Mighty Dog Roofing of Southwest Florida is our fine sponsor of the 941 Sports Zone. They have national banking, but they're locally owned, and that is certainly tremendous, delivering exceptional roofing for homes and businesses across the Gulf Coast. Give them a call, 941-251-4257. That's 941-251-4257. I know a lot of people are waiting till maybe the end of October, which is the end of the hurricane season, if you will. You can get some in November, but
yes,
that's basically the main part of it. But
you're not usually going to get any Category 5s. You might get a nuisance Category 1 that plops 10 inches of rain on you. And does that kind of damage, which is always a possibility. But, the ones that are the scary ones need that fuel. And usually that fuel is gone in the Gulf by mid to late October.
All right. So give them a call. Get your roofing taken care of. I know a lot of people. I still see when I go down there. I still see blue tarps, John.
Yeah, I was funny enough.
Yeah,
driving down the road, I was like, man, a year ago, within a few days, we were dealing with trees all over the place, and the Venice Island was flooded, and all up the coastline was getting hit with a storm surge. And I work in mobile home parks, so there's nothing but all I see is aluminum everywhere.
Yes.
In my nightmares. And so, there's been still a lot of repair to go. But I would say that tip of the cap to the community at large, that a lot of these places, then you're back to living a normal life after a pretty rough catastrophe.
So give Mighty Dog a call and get those roofing issues taken care of before we get into the winter months. College football, we kind of alluded to it earlier. Miami, who's now number 2. Well, yeah. Apparently the coaches, I don't know what the coaches are watching. The AP has Miami at number 2. The coaches have them at number 6. Considering the schedule they played, John, how in the world can they be the 6th best team in the country?
No, and I think this is something that we probably talked about earlier about, like, there's who is the best team, okay?
Yeah. Who has the best resume?
Right. And so I'll use an example that might seem like it's kind of silly, but Notre Dame, okay? Notre Dame 0-2, right? Didn't win a game. They're in the top 25.
Yep.
And the argument is easy to make. They played tough teams. They've played tough teams.
And played tough.
I think what happened early on is that you don't know. Okay, so Texas. I use Texas, another example. They lost the first game at Ohio State. Terrible game. Absolutely terrible game to watch. Boring as hell. You got the next coming of Peyton and Eli, and he looks like he hasn't thrown a ball since grade school. He looked terrible, and he's looked terrible until a week ago, and now this past week, and now he's posturing in front of to UTEP players, which I think is sort of silly. But anyway, but all these teams, nobody's like just jumping off the page. So I kind of understand a little bit. Like, you could argue 2 to 6 to 7 to whatever, who played who, da 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 da. I think that they're all jumbled up, and if you're a fan, which I am, of the playoff system, it's going to be interesting to see how these teams get seeded, not who makes it. I'm not, listen, I don't want to hear from the 13th team, oh, poor me, I didn't get in. Well, look, you wouldn't even had a chance a year and a half ago to get anywhere near the playoffs. So just because you got 13, not worried about you. Too bad. But 12 through whatever, there could be some hellacious matchups, home field advantages. And because there's a lot of good teams, there hasn't been one great team to pop off the page. Ohio State is sort of the number 1 team by default because they won that game.
Defending champs, yeah,
absolutely. But nobody impresses me. LSU, I'm a Florida fan. Obviously, everybody knows that. LSU fan looks at it and says, we should have killed Florida. And I agree. And they didn't. Okay. Miami should have killed Florida. And they didn't, because that score, 26-7, was not the score. It was 13-7 in the fourth quarter.
Yes,
Florida had the ball on Miami side of the 50, and they decided to go for it on 4th and 2. Another miscalculation by the worst in-game coach in the history of college football. Because you can get 3 points. You have a guy who's kicking it 70 yards.
What's wrong with a field goal? Kicking games are so much better. What's wrong with a field goal?
It's stupid. It's just stupid because there's only one thing you're going to do, because you can't do anything else. And so it's predictable. And I'm sorry, predictable, I don't care how good you are, is easy to stop than not. If you don't know what's coming, forget about it. But again, Miami 13-7. Carson Beck, he's a Georgia guy, whatever. I didn't like the way he left Georgia. I know probably some personal things. I said something about it earlier in the year. To me, he is extremely unimpressive. So if you're looking at Miami and saying that they should be ranked higher, I get it. But I haven't seen a quarterback yet who's making my jaw drop. Right. I will tell you that him and Cade Klubnik are probably, if you switch teams, they'd have the same record on either team. They look like they can do it, but their production is not nearly what it should be. Miami should have won that game at home by 30 points for as inept as Florida's offense is.
Well, Florida's defense, this is the shame of it, and we've talked about this 2 or 3 weeks in a row now. Florida's defense is championship level. They played extremely well the other night, and it really is a shame that this is going to waste.
Yeah, and it is going. That's exactly what's happened. It's going to waste, and it's always funny because we had talked privately over the weekend, and how Florida was down 3 defensive linemen and everything else. But Rich, I know that there's 5 stars, just like there were last year, sitting on the bench watching these other guys play. And while I know that you don't want to lose the first string guy, there's some dudes that can come off and still play on that defense, and we saw it last week. You didn't see a drop off with Florida on defense because they've got guys, and that's the other sad part about it. They got guys. Yeah. Sometimes you don't have guys, and you got to be a great coach. Now you got to do is now you've got the fastest car. Drive it. Don't take extra pit stops because you need a soda break or whatever. You just got to go for it and drive that car like it means something to you. So, I think that there's a lot of good teams, but I don't see great just yet. I just don't see great in any particular case. I mean, Florida State, the MVP of Florida State is the schedule maker because they got Alabama early when they were stumbling around, and that's what you want to get them. And that's a tip of the cap. They won that game with a faster, more physical football team, which was great. But they have played no one, literally no one since then.
Well, their game's coming. Their game's coming. Oh, yeah. They got a couple actually, and we'll talk about that in just a minute. They destroyed Kent 66-10. No surprise there. UCF with the victory over North Carolina. God, are the Tar Heels awful. I watched a lot of that game, John. Offensively,
I watched the first half.
They don't have a clue. It's really sad to watch Bill Belichick just kind of fall off the face of the earth. I mean, he's not where he's. You can tell he's not comfortable, and certainly they don't have the talent. I don't know if it's going to take a couple of years. I don't think he's going to wait a couple of years, to be truthfully honest with you.
Yeah,
I could easily see this being one and done.
Well, I will say that some of the portal decisions were a little bit sketchy. Yes. I don't see where the South Alabama kid who got transferred over has shown anything that he's even capable of playing at that level, right? And Belichick is going to be Belichick. His press conferences are similar to what we're at New England, and he's going to build and build and build. But you look at it, so Bill Belichick admitted this years ago. I think we all knew this, that he took the first 4 games of the NFL season, and that was his real preseason. Then he figured out what the team was going to be, and he went into high gear. Now he had Tommy Brady there to help him out. Plus, you know what I mean? You could have some warm-up games and still win the games along with some talented players. But in college, everything counts. You don't get to say, I'm going to do this and do that. My big skepticism with Bill Belichick is a recruiter. Okay. I thought he could be a CEO. I thought he could be an X and O's guy and put the right people around him. But how would he be a recruiter? And not just from recruiting from, in the off season, recruiting in season.
Right.
Meaning you got to
do that.
You're going to get somebody's dad who you recruited his kid to be the starting defensive end, and he ain't playing, and he walks up and says, Coach, if my son doesn't start playing soon, we have to go in the portal. Could you imagine Bill Belichick saying, oh, no, please, let's figure this out? Bill Belichick would probably say, well, let the door hit you in the ass and walk away. And I don't know how that plays in college football. And North Carolina, they've got the pedigree if you want to look at it. I mean, they haven't been great consistently, but they've had their moments. And they're definitely
better than this. That's for sure. They've been much better than this.
This looked very uninspired.
Yes.
I would
say Good word.
Altogether. UCF was just bouncing, and they were happy, and they wanted to beat Bill Belichick. You could see it. They were excited about the game, and Carolina was like, what am I going to do? What did he say? I got to block this way. They're trying to figure out the nuances of what Bill Belichick's telling them, as opposed to going out there and being enthusiastic, which that's what we love college football, because that the old college try wins a lot of games.
Right.
And those upsets are phenomenal when they happen because it's you see the enthusiasm that goes into it, and that's what makes it so special with college football.
USF bounced back from the loss at Miami. South Carolina State was no match for them, 63-14, but it's a nice bounce back win. You and I kind of talked about it. You talked about Florida State. They're killing people, as they should. They need to. USF needed a game like that.
Absolutely.
An easy game where they put up a lot of points and get their confidence back, because now they're going to get into the American. And the American, I don't think there's any question at this point. Whoever wins the American is going to be the group of 5 representative.
There's 4 teams right now that would be very well that they represent the AAC very well in the playoffs, and then we'll see who shakes out and gets in there.
Yeah, one of them is Memphis, who pulled off a stunner against Arkansas, fell behind 18 points. That's the part to me. It's not stunning that Memphis won. Right. It's how they won. Arkansas got out to a huge lead. Memphis didn't quit. They ended up making more plays at the end of the game.
I think I told you about my Penn State quarterback scenario. They all look the same. They all 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Now they're all 6'4", and they look like stiffs, and they don't make it in the pros and whatever, that kind of thing. But that being the case, Arkansas has a similar look to it. Yeah. They seem like, I'm like, if you showed me Arkansas 5 years ago and showed me Arkansas last Saturday, I'm like, they look like the same team, and they're losing the same way. It's always like, oh, they had it in their hand, and next thing you know, Mississippi State got scored 20 points on them or something like that, and then they'll go out and just beat the hell out of like Texas A&M. Like, where'd that come from? I mean, just kill them. And then the next week they're like, oh, they struggled. They lost to Vanderbilt. You're like, what? How'd that team go from that to that? I don't know what it is. Sometimes there's just like, I was at a tailgate one time, and it was a South Carolina, Florida game. And these young guys joined us because, let's just say, they thought our bar was looking good, and they thought they could get a free drink from us. And they did. They told some funny stories. But one of the things the guy said is like, we're just South Carolina. We doesn't care who the coach is, Steve Spurrier, whatever. He goes, that damn rooster, you don't know this, but he sits on top of that scoreboard. And whenever we start doing good, he comes down and smacks somebody right in the damn face and reminds them that they're South Carolina. And I was like, that's funny, because there's a little bit of truth to it. Sometimes the culture just catches up to you. Things start to happen that way. And that's why it's been surprising to see some of the pedigree teams in the state of Florida lose that swagger, because there shouldn't be any loss of swagger. The recruiting in this, the amount of athletes, when if you had Florida State, Florida, and Miami all in the top 10 for the better part of the 90s, right? Better part of the 90s.
Yeah. There's
enough talent for back then. The state's population has probably doubled since then, right? You would think there's schools everywhere now. So there's even more good players. And somehow or another, there's a talent lapse or a confidence lapse in any of these teams in Florida. Look at know who's taking advantage of it? USF and UCF.
Yes.
Oh, you don't want Absolutely. That 3-star? Great. He's got a great frame. We're going to put him up. We're going to put him in the weight room and wait till he's a junior. And yet, meanwhile, Florida and Florida State and Miami, like, we got to trot that 5-star guy from Minnesota onto the field, because if we don't, he's going to leave and go back to Minnesota.
Right.
Recruit the state. Don't lose that swagger. It's stupid. We don't need to be that way.
Well, I think Miami's getting it back. We'll see again. 2 weeks. Well, actually, now less than 2 weeks. Miami at Florida State. That's going to be one hell of a game, as long as Florida State doesn't stumble this Friday night. But we'll get to that in just a second.
I hope that those teams come in hot, ready to go. I'd love to see a shootout just for the entertainment value, because both teams are capable of it. Right now, Florida State's offense is way better than Miami's offense.
Although Miami almost got banged up on Saturday. So,
well, I understand that, but I think that, it's a scheme guy, Rich. It's scheme. And Mario Cristobal, Remember a couple years ago, his first year, he ran the ball to try to get it, whatever he did, and they fumbled and they lost the game. He's a bit of that guy who wants to grind it out, and he's playing against the least grinded out guy ever, and Gus Malzahn as OC. He better be prepared to do more than try to grind it out, because I think Florida State's going to score easily 28 points in that game. And if you're going to go plodding around and try to slow the game down and then put it in Carson Beck's hands, to what I've seen so far, man, I don't know if Miami's ready for it. And if Florida State has 2 signature wins, Alabama and Miami, I think they're playoff bound. They easily play. I'm even talking about not winning in the ACC championship. I think they're a playoff bound team, because I think if they win that game, they're not going to lose 2 more. They might lose 2 more, but they may not too many more than that. That's right. About it for them.
Yep. Games out of state that were top 25 matchups. Texas Tech with a big fourth quarter pulled away from Utah. So they're now in the Big 12 conversation, sitting undefeated.
That money they spent is really looking good right now.
Yes, sure is.
Not just on the softball pitcher. $23 million or whatever.
Yeah, not just on the softball pitcher. Yeah.
Yep.
Indiana. We got a problem here again, John. I think Indiana, they just beat the brakes off of Illinois, put up 63. And you know what? Again, their schedule is not that daunting. It's going to be, if they keep winning, it's going to be hard to keep them out of the playoff. And I know everybody after last year was like, oh, they didn't really belong in the playoff. Well, they went to Notre Dame, for crying out loud, okay?
Right.
In that game. But boy, did they take care of business against Illinois. And explain this to me. I know they were 9th. After that game, how is Illinois still ranked?
Right.
So listen. 23rd. Really? They're ranked and USF is not.
You just teed me up. You teed me up perfect here, Rich. So I just mentioned Florida State, and I said the schedule maker is the MVP, right? Indiana, the schedule maker is also their MVP. Okay, they've got a light load, and sometimes they just get lucky, whatever it may be. But they had to have a win, a signature win. Similar style. Florida State's throwing it around, running around. Cignetti at Indiana, the coach, doing the same thing.
Yeah, he's not long for there, John.
And they played Illinois, who plays the same plotting BS that Miami's doing. And look what happened. When it got away from them, it became a track meet that they weren't ready to play. They were throwing the shot put and running the 100. That was the difference between the two. So both of those teams, Indiana and Florida State, to me, that's the Big Ten version of what Florida State is, and vice versa. And so if Indiana took it to Illinois like they did, that's why I feel that Florida State's going to take it to Miami the same way. If they don't come out and want to try to impose their will on you, a 3-and-out is terrible for certain teams. Okay, because they're like, oh, how are we going to? What if we fall behind? When you got a Malzahn offense, it doesn't matter if you go 3-and-out. You're going to do this. You're going to keep on going down the field. So I'm a strong. You can say I'm a strong believer in good offense is how you win games these days in college football.
Yes, it is.
And while good defense again is being wasted in some places, you still got to score points to win the game. It's not. Well, look at the stat line. You guys were great. You're the number 7 team in the country for rushing defense, but you lost 4 games. Who cares?
Right.
Who cares? It's winning and losing. So right now, Indiana's formula and Florida State's formula is a winning formula. Now, you're right about Cignetti being gone. Trust me. I'm Florida guy. People are texting me all day. Oh, you know who you got to get? You got to get Cignetti. You got to get – I'm like, okay, I understand that this guy is going to be a super duper hot commodity, but it doesn't mean that he's going to run away and take the Florida program because it's such a glamorous position right now, or whatever it may be out there. He might decide to take a run with Indiana for a little while and go from there, because even when Urban Meyer was coming through the ranks, he didn't just go to Utah for a year or two. He put his time in at Utah, went 11-0, a couple, whatever he did.
Yep.
and then waited for whatever was going to be the best scenario for him and it played out for him. If these guys are smart and you're the hot commodity, I would not be jumping at the first offer that was made to me. I would try to continue to improve my stock and my standing, and then make a run at something where I knew it was right there. Now, if there's something that's just too good to be true, then I understand. Because I'll give you one example of the guy who I think went too fast. Now he's been coaching well to this point, but DeBoer at Alabama, I don't think he's an Alabama guy. I don't feel that way. I feel like he's just in the wrong spot, and he ran away from that job. He's only a few years removed from Fresno State, and so I'm not really convinced that guy really had the chops to do that at this point. We'll see. They won some games.
We'll see real quick. We'll see real quick. We get into the games for next week. One other thing, though, I want to bring up from games that were from last week. There is some controversy from the Oklahoma-Auburn game.
Okay.
Oklahoma ends up winning by 7. And apparently they scored their last touchdown on an illegal play where they were running a player off the field and he never left. And that's a 15-yard unsportsmanlike conduct penalty. And Hugh Freeze went apoplectic, and they didn't call it. And in the end, it ended up costing them the game. The SEC, within 3 hours of the finale of that game, issued a release basically saying that Oklahoma, in fact, did cheat. And unfortunately, nobody caught it. And there's nothing they could do about it. But man, oh man, the officials in the SEC are going to have to be on alert now, because anything that even smells fishy is going to have to be called. I mean, that's dirty pool right there.
So I do a coach's show with the coach that we all know, right? Mm-hmm. And that's that's a play that
yes, I know it is. I know it is.
It's got a name, and it's he will talk to the referee before the game, and he'll say, "I'm going to run this play, and you got to let me know if you're going to throw a flag on me or whatever. But this is how it's going to work, and there's a little bit of trickery involved in it. A sleight of hand. I think that they're a magician, but anyway." So I saw that and I was like, what do you know? They ran the play, and I thought it was great. I thought, I'm like, oh, what do you know? Somebody that somebody else had the same idea, wasn't aware of the idea that was sort of a no-go in regards to what it would be. Because as an official, there really isn't anything that, because they don't leave the field. And there's not more men on they don't have 12 and it goes to 11.
Right.
It's always 11. Because two guys come off and one guy goes on, the other guy never leaves. So that's what it is. So I can see where the official might be like at the moment being like, well, what's wrong with that? But obviously there's a rule that says there's something wrong with it. So that's why it was what it was. But no, I get that. And I think that there's always mistakes made. But again, Auburn had chances. You can't win a game with 11 sacks in a game.
Yeah,
that's insane. That poor kid got his brains beat in. And maybe rightfully, maybe that Oklahoma had it out for him. Oklahoma was a better team also. I thought they were the better team. Not that it makes it any different. I know wrong is wrong, but I just think that I don't feel too sorry for them. They weren't the better team.
All right, games this week. The big noon kickoff on Fox is 21st ranked USC, who I think just finished beating Michigan State. John, that game ended after 3 a.m.
Trust me, I know. I got home
morning.
and turned it on, and I woke up at 2:45. The game is still on? Is it a replay? And I'm like, no, because I turned it on and I didn't watch it, but it was good.
Well, they had an unfortunate injury in that game.
Yes,
took quite a little time. And great news, the Michigan State player that was injured actually got released from the hospital and flew home with the team. So that certainly was good news.
And I always appreciate that
all right,
one false move and you're in trouble, and you don't want that to happen.
Right. So USC at Illinois. Maybe that's why Illinois is still ranked. It was the big noon kickoff game on Fox. Friday night, 8th ranked Florida State. Here's the polls. Here's the polls in a nutshell. Florida State doesn't play the week before, and they go from 10th to 7th.
Right.
Then they beat the brakes off of Kent State 66-10, and they go from 7th to 8th.
Right. Because nobody knows. I'm telling you, there's mass confusion right now. Mass confusion.
But Florida State can't be looking ahead. They're only an 8.5 point favorite at Virginia Friday night at 7, so it's a short week. Castellanos is a little banged up. How much do you play him? I saw Brock Glenn in the box score, and I got the shivers. I'm like, please.
Well, that's the one thing about Florida State. I'll say to you, when you are very portal reliable, then you don't usually have depth, because the depth is the guys that were there that got left over. You know what I mean? So it's difficult. So yeah, fingers crossed for Florida State that they don't have any injury issues to key players, because it will be a problem.
Yeah, no question. UCF is at Kansas State. That's at noon on FS1. If UCF is going to be anything in the Big 12, they got to win that game. And I know Kansas State is a wounded animal. They lost over in Ireland. They've lost a game here. They lost to Army, I believe, and they've also lost the game. But UCF, if they want to be something in the Big 12, they've got to find a way to win that game.
Kansas State is a bad matchup for UCF. My feelings, because Kansas State is an angry team, and they're in a have to win situation, and they're talented. They're not an untalented football team, and they're well coached. So that UCF, they better be on their best everything. Do not look at the record and think that this is a go for it kind of situation.
Interesting 3:30 slot. Top-ranked Ohio State is at Washington. That could be a bit of a test. But LSU and Ole Miss, Lane Kiffin and our buddy Brian Kelly. And listen, Ole Miss impressed the heck out of me. I thought the Tulane game would be close. They blew their doors off. He might have something there. This is going to be a test for LSU. If they're not ready to play, they'll hang an L on them.
I don't like this quarterback situation at Ole Miss right now. I don't like it. Now, Kiffin will draw up some plays in the dirt, and they are going to score points, and that's going to be a real issue. While I don't like the Ole Miss coaching situation, I definitely don't like the offense and the quarterback situation at LSU right now. So this is not my lock of the week. I know we're doing a little something different later on, a little lock of the week kind of stuff, but Ole Miss at home beats LSU. They are LSU. LSU has played way too many.
Pounding the table.
I'm pounding the table. I want I like Kiffin in this game, because these are the games he does well in. He craps the bed on games he shouldn't crap the bed on. And then it's always weird stuff, because whatever it is, he gets swallowed up by stuff. So that, to me, the home field at Ole Miss has gotten better and better. If you look at that stadium 10 years ago, it looked like, it's got a nice little 30,000 seat stadium. And you go to the Grove and you sip on some whatever drinks they make, and it's this and that. Now that stadium is it's loud. They're into it.
Let's give Lane credit.
Yeah.
He's created a culture there.
He's just nuts.
Yeah. No other way to put it. And then the two 7:30 games, John. You got Oregon at Penn State, 6 versus 3. Whiteout at Happy Valley, NBC. Apparently game day is not going to Alabama, Georgia, but they're going to that game, which has got some people raising eyebrows after last week. Game day went to Florida, Miami.
Yeah.
So
I'll say to you this: if you wanted to go to Penn State one time this year, I want to go now. I don't want to go when the whiteout also means that there's going to be snow on the ground. So I think ESPN is getting they're getting a little smarter with that one in particular. Georgia, Alabama, there'll be more opportunities to see their campuses at some point in time. I'm sure of it. In those games though, Rich, I like Oregon on the road. I really do. Because here's what it is. In the past, Oregon played it's soft is not the right word. They played sort of slick. Their whole, again, like I talked about how you have a culture. Well, every game you have a new uniform on. Oh, I'm yellow and silver today. I'm this, I'm that. Kind of got all the cool little gear. You run spread. You're running around a lot. You score 90 points against teams in the Pac-10, and then boom, you hit somebody and you get hit in the face. Oregon's had enough time to acclimate themselves to the Big Ten. At this point, they know what to expect. And Dan Lanning brings a whole different level of intensity that they didn't have before. I'm sorry, they just didn't have it before. So it's the Oregon's been there already. Dan Lanning is the guy over the top that's going to bring physicality to that game. And Penn State has not played anybody yet, and this is the first one they're going to play. And the spotlight is bright, and they have not shown it before. So if they do it, tip my cap to them. It'll be a big feather in their cap moving forward. And as far as Alabama and Georgia,
they still have that trip looming to Columbus to take on Ohio State down the road.
Absolutely. And Alabama and Georgia, while it's 17 versus 5, they are much closer than 17 and 5. Okay, much closer. Georgia has given up a lot of points in some of these games. I thought that Tennessee really blew that game against Georgia.
Absolutely.
And they put points.
You watch Kirby after that game, John. He knew he got away with one.
100%. He kind of had that big deep like that kind of thing. Like, thanks for talking to me. We got lucky. And I don't like Gunnar Stockton as a quarterback. I mean, I didn't like the other midget they had. What's his face?
Midget.
Yeah, the drunk. Rehab boy. What's his face?
Oh, the guy that won the Natty. He's playing for the Rams.
Something the third. Something.
Yeah.
I can't remember. I'm drawing a blank on his name.
Yeah, so am I.
Well, he won national championship, but so I can't be mean to him. But I don't buy it right now at quarterback. And Alabama, Simpson looked terrible, but the last couple of games, I think he's missed one throw in the last two games.
He's definitely got it together. This is going to be a big test.
So closer than you think. I think.
I think Alabama's got a real shot to win this game, John.
Yeah,
real shot.
As opposed to the rankings in this one, but I'll give Georgia the edge because it's at home. That's the only reason. Otherwise, if this was a neutral site, it's a pick 'em for me. I wouldn't even know where to go at this point because I don't know. Again, and in this case, I said Dan Lanning means a lot. Kirby Smart means a lot. I never thought Kirby was going to be the guy, but he is definitely the patriarch of college, of high school, of SEC football right now. He's the best coach, and so we'll see what if the board is ready for it. If he is, it'll be a great game. It should be a great game. I think atmosphere is going to be outstanding.
Georgia's over the last several years had an Alabama problem. So even though they're favored in this game, they've been favored in other games and come up short in the SEC championship game a couple times. I'm very intrigued to watch this. This is a great weekend of college football. Really.
Listen, I'm glad I'm on a bye with Florida. I can sit home and watch these games and enjoy them and not have heartburn the whole time, waiting for my team to get over with their beat down. So I can tell you, I'll be enjoying these games. There's no doubt about it.
All right, we got to move on to the NFL, but before we do, we let you know that the 941 Sports Zone is presented by Mighty Dog Roofing of Southwest Florida, locally owned and nationally backed, delivering exceptional roofing for homes and businesses across the Gulf Coast. 941-251-4257 is the phone number. Again, that's 941-251-4257. You had close games. You had blowouts. That was week 3 of the National Football League. And you had special teams that weren't so special at a lot of games.
You saw two within minutes of each other, blocked field goals go back for touchdowns. Now, one of them led to sealed a victory. One of them just delayed the inevitable loss.
And a cover.
Yeah. Don't forget that, right? Yes. But it's funny. NFL is, the unpredictability of the NFL is entertaining. Let's just say. You said about blowouts. Carolina 30-0 over Atlanta. What happened?
Michael Penix did not play well, threw a pick six early. Carolina got up. And in those games, a lot of times when you get up, they're division games, they're division rivals.
Yeah.
Carolina has shown signs, and they put it all together in that game. And that's that. If you're a Bucs fan, that's great.
Right.
You have a 2-game lead after 3 games. And you're lucky to get out of Raymond James against your Jets. Valiant effort in the fourth quarter. And they thought they had won it with the return for a touchdown, but Baker, he's just on another level right now. He gets in the last 2 minutes of the game. They had to slow down to kick the field goal.
The throw to Ibuka on the sideline was stupid. It was, and because the coverage was there, and that's why, looking at it from a Jets perspective, tip your cap to them in that situation. I don't think that they got soft, and at the end of the game, I think the Jets just kept on playing. Okay, and they sometimes, like, when you with a new coach, what Aaron Glenn he's trying to show them that you're talented. You need to keep playing these games. Yes. You don't need to first of all, you can't Cadillac it. And second of all, you can't cash it in when you think you're out of it. And so that game, I will tell you this, if the Jets win 7 games this year, it'll be because of that loss. Okay. It'll be because of that loss. Mm-hmm. And I think that's a positive situation. And I think at the end also, Rich, and let's just give it home field advantage. Man, it was 130 degrees on that field. And you're the Jets, and you're coming down, and you got those heavy green jerseys looking things, and you're making a comeback from 17 points down. All the height, and you get out there, and man, Baker just goes boop boop boop, and the next thing you're on your heels, and it was only a field goal necessary to win the game. So again, both teams played. From a game that red zone was hardly showing to dominated like 30 minutes of it after it all happened, showed that it was a great game nonetheless. And the other game, obviously Philly and the Rams, man, how the Rams fell apart there at the end.
You are right.
I thought I'm watching again, like, well, this is going to be Philly's loss right here. And then, Philly doesn't do anything too spectacular. They got A.J. Brown and got involved this week.
Yeah, A.J. Brown met Jalen Hurts. They actually introduced themselves to each other.
Right. What do you know? You can throw it to that guy. He can run down the field. He's a giant, fast guy, But I was a little surprised that the Rams sort of folded as much because the defense has been playing so well. The D line has been fantastic for the Rams, and not so much in this instance. But that's just right. And another one popped off the page to me. Probably one of the most boring games until the end was Cleveland and Green Bay. I've listened to a lot of national guys saying Green Bay is the best team in the league.
Yes.
Well, look,
they spit the bit. There's no other way to put it. You're up 10-0 with 5 minutes to go. You have to take that thing into the house.
I've watched Jordan Love play, and there's some throws that he makes that are just atrocious.
Yeah, I'm like, what was one of them?
He'll miss guys up and down the seam. He's got fast guys who can run around. They have talent. I think Jacobs, a running back, is a steal. He's a phenomenal player. He was my fantasy running back for 3 years, and I was like, I don't need anybody else but this guy. He's that good. Anyway, but I thought that was Cleveland's defense is better than people give it credit for.
Oh my goodness!
They kept everybody and they kept the offense in the game, and lo and behold, you're only up 10. Doesn't mean much, and you end up losing that football game. In Cleveland's going to Cleveland might be the team that decides who goes to the playoffs from the AFC North.
Yeah,
you got Pittsburgh, Cincinnati, and by the way, Cincinnati. What was that all about? Holy crap! But in Baltimore playing tonight, Cleveland can be the team that wins a couple of those division games and really puts some teams behind the 8 ball.
And they do every year. Believe it or not, they do. They beat Baltimore last year. They beat Cincinnati last year. They've got a shot. But they just that you mentioned it, Jordan Love. That throw in the fourth quarter. You're protecting a 7-point lead,
Yeah.
and that's the throw. I mean, I don't know. I just don't think he's as good as everybody's making him out to be. And
well, I'll tell you the truth. And another guy getting a lot of credit right now is Dak Prescott. Okay, I like Dak Prescott. I like Jordan Love. They're not elite quarterbacks.
No,
they're Prescott is he's got CeeDee Lamb now who's hurt. He's thrown to the tight end. He's moving it around, but they don't score points. And Love is just got if he's throwing downfield, anything over 15 to 20 yards downfield, it's a toss up where it's going. I don't think he's accurate enough. He'll throw some good ones. I'm not saying he doesn't, but he's just not consistent to be at that level. And if he's not that guy at that level, then Green Bay is not the best team in the NFL or the NFC. And that was proven by Cleveland this week.
Yeah. So we have the Eagles winning a game they really shouldn't have won. The Bucs winning a game that some people think they shouldn't have won. So the 2-3-0s get together at Raymond James next Sunday, 1:00. Brady's doing the game along with Kevin Burkhardt. Philly, early 3-point road favorite. They've really struggled in Tampa. Lost the playoff game a couple of years ago. They lost week 4, this exact spot last year. Should be an interesting game. Bucs injuries, though, man.
I was just going to say injuries.
2 offensive linemen that got indoctrinated yesterday. They had 6 holding penalties in the first half of that game.
They had 5 on one drive. First drive. It took 9 minutes of the first quarter up because they kept going backwards and kept going forwards again. And the Jets just did them favors by getting pass interference penalties and whatever the heck was going on. And I was fuming when you had 4th and 10 and you take a holding penalty to make it 3rd and 29. Okay. And I said, they were still going to get a field goal out of it. Why would just 4th down, make them kick a field goal? You're done with, you got 3 and you end up getting a touchdown. It was stupid on their part to do that. I get they're trying to, we'll push them back further, but man, there's 2 teams playing there. Just because you think it's the best idea, sometimes it's not the safer idea. Anyway, Tampa Bay's injuries right now are going to be a problem. And if that is the case, that Eagle defensive line might eat up Tampa Bay. Baker, they better bubble wrap Baker because you don't want him getting hurt at this point. Because for as much as Teddy Bridgewater looks good on the sidelines, I'm not so sure you want him playing 5 or 6 games or 4 games with an injury to Baker in any way.
No question about it. But I got to be honest with you. I think, I know the Eagles are formidable, but I like the Jets defensive line better than the Eagles. So the indoctrination may have been, something good for Tampa Bay. But
I can see that.
Christian Wirfs is back this week. That's a biggie.
That if that happens, then everything, all the pieces get a little more together at that point.
Yeah, because again, Barton go back to center. He's not a left tackle. I mean, Jesus H. I know they're trying to piece it together, and it's the first time since 2005 that they're 3-0, and they're the first team in NFL history to win 3 games, their first 3 games in the final minute.
Right.
The game.
And that's what I knew. I said, as soon as they said I heard that, I'm like, oh, they'll do it again. It's going to be the theme for a little while for them until it's not. Real quick, another thing I was going to say too, very impressed with Indianapolis the last couple of weeks. I mean, they didn't punt for almost 3 games.
Yes.
It's crazy. Impressed with them, impressed with the Chargers.
Yes, the Chargers down 7 late.
Yeah.
And they came back. Touchdown, defense, field goal. The Broncos chargered in that game. Big win. They're 3-0. And John, that's 3 division games. That is huge.
Yes, they're 2 up on everybody.
Yep.
At least. The Raiders look like the Raiders. I don't think Geno is playing very well. So it's gonna be Kansas City, Denver, and the San Diego. Denver's good. I'm not a big Bo Nix fan, but I think that Bo Nix works in the Sean Payton system well. So that's a good marriage right there. I would say that. But like I said, who knows where that'll fall. Jacksonville looks a little bit better. I thought they thought they've played well at home.
They never beat Houston. I believe
Right.
that snapped an 8-game losing streak against the
Yep, that was big.
You know,
Yep.
you got to crawl before you walk and walk before you run, and they're 2-1, and the Texans are 0-3 as the defending division champs. And let me tell you something. I watched a good portion of that game yesterday. CJ Stroud looks like a shell of his former self. Every time he drops back, he thinks he's under pressure. It's
he's lost. And I don't know if they're just not coaching him right, or they can't get him back. That whatever, who knows? But it looks like he needs like a break or a psychiatrist or something along those lines. But he needs something to get himself untracked. Again, I briefly mentioned before the game with Cincinnati. That was just they didn't even show up. I don't know how that.
Well, Jake Browning threw a pick six and another fumble return for a touchdown. They just mailed it in at that point, and give the Vikings credit. They took advantage, and they're 2-1.
I don't know if the inmates don't run the asylum at Cincinnati. I think that's
you're not a big fan of their head coach, are you?
There's a leadership issue on that team, and I think that's the problem right now. I think the leaders are the guys that are playing the game, and I think that's not a recipe for sustainable success. I thought also that Seattle looked good. They beat the pants off of the Saints.
Saints are on the clock. No, I don't think there's any question.
No doubt about that. And a very boring game, but until the end, was the 49ers and the Cardinals.
Yeah.
Cardinals
almost won on a safety. I was rooting hard for that to be the last score, but the Cardinals are the Cardinals, and
that's my 100% point. The Cardinals, even the way the uniforms look, the Cardinals and the Jets have a lot of similarities.
Yeah.
Weak ownership, weird ownership. They're just what's the identity? I don't know. Some years they have good defense. Some years it's Kyler Murray throwing it to who are all over the field. Sometimes it's whatever. Now James Conner's out for the year. He's done. So they got a problem at running back. So you don't know what you're going to get from the Cardinals, and the 49ers they can squeak by here and win some games. They'll be probably a favorite in the West at this point.
Steelers are 2-1. They could easily be 0-3. The 60-yard field goal bailed them out in week 1 against the Jets, and the Patriots just basically gifted them the game. You had 5 turnovers. If Stevenson is still a running back, if he's still on the active roster today, I don't, man, oh man. I watched that game. Patriots dominated, especially in the second half, and they just imploded.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. It wasn't a Vrabel Patriot type of performance. Let's just say I thought that was a very. If you're looking as a Patriot fan and you thought that maybe you're the second best team in the division, that might still be the case, but it doesn't mean you're going to be in the playoffs. So that's not you're going to be second. You're going to be second place behind Buffalo. Will have 14 wins, and everybody else behind them will have 5.
Yeah, it's ugly. All right. Real quick, the week 4 first game overseas, Dublin. Vikings are going to be there for a couple of weeks. They will face the Steelers 9:30 Sunday morning. How are you with the waking up to football at 9:30?
If I have to put a reminder on my phone to make sure if I want to watch the game, that's okay. Some of the atmosphere, some of the stuff in the games is a little weird. It's very soccerish, and that kind of thing. I think Dublin's got a little bit better feel to it, so I probably would watch that game.
Well, they had a college game earlier this year.
Yeah, it was fantastic. It was fun. I think especially get the right, that's a great trip if you can go over and watch a football game and get to go see Ireland. But I'm not I understand it. I'm a marketing person. I understand those kind of things. It's a marketing tool. You're getting a global audience at that point, and you film the stadium up, and it's kind of a cool deal. I'm just not. I don't set my alarm and make sure I do it. I just if I wake up to watch it, great, and if it's a good game, even better. But to me, a standalone game at 9:30 in the morning isn't too exciting.
So among the bigger matchups next week, Jags go to San Francisco to take on the 49ers, trying to go 3-1. 49ers are 3-0. Indy, here's their first test. They're going to go to LA to take on a Rams team that's probably pissed off. They let one get away in Philadelphia. They better be ready.
Danny Dimes might look like Danny Dimes of old in this game if they put the heat on him like they.
Are you a Danny Dimes guy or an Indiana Jones guy? Apparently, they're calling him Indiana Jones now.
Look, sometimes a nickname just fits. Okay, Broadway Joe. I'll go all the way back to then. He went to play for the Rams, and then they tried to change his nickname. I'm like, no, he's Broadway Joe. He's not L.A. Joe or whatever Joe.
Right.
And Danny Dimes is Danny Dimes. I mean, that's just I would have T-shirts and hats. I'd be selling that stuff all over the place. I'm Danny Dimes, but because he's just that's just a really good moniker for him. So if they want to call him Indiana Jones, good for them. Let them have that. But nationally, he's Danny Dimes.
All right, the standalone games. Well, actually, they're not standalone. Thursday night, Seahawks and Cardinals.
Again, you're gonna be a fan for that one. Yeah.
Sunday night football, Packers and Cowboys. Of course, the obvious. The return to Big D.
Yeah,
it should be an interesting game. And there are two Monday night games. The first one, thank goodness we're going to be recording. Jets and Dolphins. Oh man, I think Chris Fowler and
Herbie.
It's
Louis,
Orlovsky and
Louis Riddick.
Louis Riddick. Yes,
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, those three are good. Good luck with that. Bengals and Broncos. 8:15 ABC. Broncos. Listen, the Broncos should be 3-0.
Yeah, they
good. Should be 3-0. They've blown two games that you go, my God, really? So I think the Bengals are in for it.
I think Denver's going to come out. They got a bitter taste in their mouth after that San Diego loss. LA Charger loss.
Yes,
and I think that they're going to come out. I think that they
lost. John, remember they lost to Indy on that leaping penalty the week before, so they got two bad losses in their mouth.
So I think the Bengals I think the Broncos will take care of the Bengals, and that Jets at the Dolphins game. If the Dolphins lose to the Jets at home on Monday night, on Tuesday morning they'll have a new coach, interim coach. They'll fire Mike McDaniel on Tuesday morning. So John, if they like their coach, they better put it all in there. Yeah, I think I think the Jets' defensive line, like you said before, going after Tua. The only thing what the Dolphins have still is a puncher's chance because if Tua gets hot with a deep ball and Hill gets deep and Waddle starts to get a little going and the Jets offense sputters, which it has, then I could see maybe Miami pulling it out. But I think that team is lost. I think the Jets are figuring some things out, losing games to figure it out, and the Dolphins are they're just circling the drain right now. Is all they're doing.
Yeah. All right, so there's your look at the NFL. We got to move it along here a little bit. Major League Baseball. What a final week we have, John. There's plenty of drama.
Every time I turn around, it's like somebody else is just past somebody else. They're shuffling around now. Detroit's ready to lose the division.
Wow.
It's like,
if they do 15 and a half games, the Guardians trailed in July. That's even more than, remember when the Yankees in 78 got Boston?
It's crazy.
That was 14 games. This would be even worse.
It's nuts. And the Dodgers are reeling a little bit.
Yep.
There's some stuff going on that I was like, holy crap, I can't figure how this is all happening this fast. Just because you don't use, but it's what's good about it. It's happening quick because they're head to head.
Yeah.
So they're all making a ground on each other. A win means is a big deal.
It's two. Yeah. It's two.
Absolutely, it's two.
So the Tigers go to Cleveland to face the Guardians, and Skubal is going to pitch the first game. The Tigers had better get the first game.
If they don't,
they've lost 6 in a row and have looked horrific doing it.
Yeah.
So that's a huge series, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday night. The Astros just got swept by the Mariners. How about
Right.
the Mariners finally nutting it up? And
they've been on a lot of Sports Center highlights and early
Mhm.
on things because of what Raleigh's doing with, as far as hitting home runs and everything. And they've got some other guys that are they're a big hitting team at this point. That's
Yes.
that's a team that's sneaking up on me a little bit. I'm like, okay, maybe the Mariners are a little better than I thought they were. They're good. They're
they
good.
got a chance not only to win the division but get a bye.
I know.
So
they're good.
they're playing very well at the right time. Toronto clinched. They're the only team in the American League that is clinched.
Nobody
But they
pays
only have a
attention to
2-game lead
Toronto.
on the Yankees, and they have to finish with the Red Sox and Rays. Don't sell the Rays short. They'll
No.
definitely want to play spoiler, while the Yankees get to finish against the White Sox and the Orioles.
Yes.
But the
I know.
the Blue Jays do have the tiebreaker. They beat the Yankees in the season series, so the Yankees would have to actually win 3 more games
Right.
this week
Right.
than Toronto.
I like Toronto though in this situation. I think.
Yeah, well,
Toronto-
they're playing very well and they're pitching
Yeah.
well, so that should be interesting. The Mariners, their magic number is 3, and they have 3 against the Rockies. Wow.
Yeah, that's a nice little ending. There's an MVP for the schedule maker for them,
Yes.
right?
Yes, exactly. Houston finishes with 6 on the road. I think Houston's going to be on the outside looking in. I just
I do too. I don't.
they have
I
collapsed.
that team is sort of. I mean, they're good, but they just don't. They're not. They're a shadow of themselves a few
Yes.
years back. They're not the same team.
They're at Sacramento and at Anaheim. Those are division games. I mean, that's just, they almost have to win like 5
Yeah.
because they lose tiebreakers right now. They're currently tied with the Guardians, but the Guardians beat them in the season series, so they get the 6th seed. In the National League, if you want to talk collapses, in mid-June, the Mets were 4 or 5 games up on the Phillies in the National League East, and now they're on the outside looking in because they're tied with the Reds, and they lose the tiebreaker.
How Mets of them, right? How
Yes.
Mets of them.
It's very true.
If Queens and Bronx, okay, and whatever's going on in the Bronx, they got pixie dust in barrels full over there. The Yankees always find a way. The Mets always find a way not to, and it's been that way for a long. I mean, the Mets got all the magic they were going to get in '86. That was unbelievable.
Yeah, there was some other dust.
And then it all went to hell after that. That team would have made a deal with the devil. There's no doubt in my mind. They would have said, "Okay, devil, you do what you got. You put a hex on Bill Buckner, and we'll be happy with you." That kind of thing. So, yeah, I can just see it. It's coming at you for sure.
Yeah, the Mets are at the Cubs and at the Marlins to finish, and the Marlins have played very well this year, while the Reds host the Pirates and are at Milwaukee, and Milwaukee will likely have the 1 seed wrapped up, and they have pitching issues right now, so they're just going to throw kids. I mean, I would be shocked if Cincinnati's not in the playoffs.
Right, and that's what happens. Again, you just at the end of the year, you're going to set your lineup up. You're going to get your pitching staff ready. Why would you not? You've got the advantage. Who cares who suffers for you not playing your best players? Too bad. Well, that's how it works sometimes.
They got a couple of guys on the IL, John. That's a big problem for Milwaukee. They might be the 1 seed, but they are a wounded 1 seed. All right, we got 2 more things before we wrap it up. You talked about the locks.
Yeah,
locks. All right, I forgot about that, but I've got one in my head already.
All right, well, I'll go first if you want me to. Then
go for it.
Okay, so I'm going golf. This is a big weekend. This is not only college football, pro football. We got Ryder Cup. Yeah, and I got some friends going up there. So friends, bring back some stories. You got New York. They're heading up there, and so I'm going to tell you it's a lock. The USA cannot lose in New York at Bethpage. It's not happening. I think they're going to win. I'm not. None of that stuff's ever a runaway in most cases, but I think the USA, under the guidance of team captain Keegan Bradley, will win the Ryder Cup.
Were you in camp Bradley should play or camp Bradley should coach?
I was in and Bradley should play, but I will tell you this. It was who was it? It wasn't Brandel Chambly, but it was somebody who said by him not playing, they just won the Ryder Cup because Keegan said when he had Ryder Cup stuff going on the last week of the playoffs and he didn't play as well as he could have. And he said it definitely affected me having the two roles. So he said him making the decision, he realized that in order to be the captain, I got to be the captain. I can't be worrying about a 6-footer for par when I got to know what's going on 2 holes away from me. So he got the captaincy. He respects it, and I appreciate that. But I was in the camp that I would like to have seen him play. He deserved it. But will it mean more for him to win as the captain than as a player? Probably. They remember the captains. They do.
Yes, they do. You're right. All right, my lock, I kind of intimated a little bit earlier.
Mm-hmm.
I like Alabama.
I gotcha.
I like Alabama to go to Athens between the edges and cut them.
Yeah,
and I think they beat. They're playing better. They certainly took the Florida State loss the right way. They have played much better football. I know they haven't played very much. I know Wisconsin really crapped the bed last week against Maryland, so that makes that loss look, not that win not as good. But I just think Alabama has something on Georgia. There's certain teams that have things on certain teams, and I think Georgia sees Alabama, and they don't wet the bed, but it's definitely a bigger game for them.
Yeah, and like I said, I'm not convinced that Gunnar Stockton is the quarterback. I don't like how Georgia's defense has been playing. There, for the last couple of years, you just can't keep putting 6 and 7 guys in the first round of the NFL draft and not think you're going to get the play that are not hit on the guy every time. I think Georgia's at that point now where they're not really hitting on all strides with some of their recruits. And they obviously haven't nailed any 5-star quarterbacks. That's for sure. Nope. And who plays wide receiver? Who does this? Alabama's got some name guys. I think they got some guys they can depend on. It's going to come down
Williams has got to be big in this game.
Right. If Alabama loses,
they're done.
I think we'll be talking about what DeBoer didn't do right and what Kirby did right. I think that's what'll happen in that particular game. But from an SEC guy's perspective, it's nice to watch those two play each other during the season because somebody's getting beat and it's gonna, they're not gonna run away with anything. I like when that happens. And I think, and I go back to the LSU Ole Miss game. Man, if Ole Miss beat LSU, that it's all up in the air. There'll be 8 teams going for playoff spots, and that'll be fun. That'll make that playoff run at the end of the season really fun.
Yeah, I agree. All right, final segment. What's bugging me?
What's bugging me? So I've got a lot of things bugging me. Okay.
Well, after that last sports weekend for you, I can
as local as we can get to out to nowhere land, right? I got all different things bugging me, but I was like, you know what? I'm not going to get too upset about any of it right now because some of it's like a little too early to be worried about some things. But what was bugging me a little bit this week, and hearing a lot of people talk about it, I am so sick of the tush push, brotherly shove, whatever it is. Now it's an illegal play, and now look, I get it that it's hard to officiate that play, but it's easy when you can see somebody jump across the line of scrimmage. Don't tell me you can't see it. You can see the ball get snapped or whatever's going on, and it looked like the actual play itself from when you get that drone shot or whatever else it is. Looks like Philly is getting tighter and tighter in their splits, and their heads are across the line of scrimmage. Throw the flag. What's wrong with you guys? You can't handle it. I will say this too. I don't think it's a football play. I'm of the belief that it should not be happening because here's why. If I can push Jalen Hurts into the end zone, okay, whatever, picking him up by his leg or whatever, and you're throwing him in the end zone, why not do this? Why not get a little person, put him on a football uniform, and then just carry him in the 5 guys, just carry him in the field, and they can block for him. And he can pick up 12 yards every time he goes on the field. You're carrying somebody down the field. You can't do that. You can't pick up a guy and carry him down the field. At least I don't think you can.
No, you're not supposed to be able to.
Right. So in some ways, I understand that they are pushing him. They're carrying him. It's a problem. It's not a football play. I'm not worried about injury in this situation. There may be an injury. There could be an injury in any play for that matter. Right. But I don't believe that it's a football play. Get rid of it. I don't want to hear about it anymore. Philly will figure out. They're going to say, look, Philly, you can run a quarterback sneak. You just can't line up two guys behind him and pick him up by his belt and throw him in the damn end zone. That's over with. So I'm sick of the tush push. I'm sick of the conversation. End it now. I know they can't, but next year, if it's around and talking about it, NFL's stupid.
They could have ended it. They talked about it.
Right.
Yeah. So,
but they did say this. They were afraid that if they did it, that Philly would look like they're getting picked on because they won the championship. So I understand maybe a little PR, but get it over with. Be done with the tush push. Sick of it.
Well, what's bugging me, and I had to kind of dig deep a little bit because Bucks are 3-0. It bugs me a little bit that everybody's Baker Mayfield. Shh, quiet. Okay, yeah. Let him just do his thing. Okay. I'm one of those fans. What's bugging me is they need to burn those damn uniforms. They just burn. This is what bothers me. Everybody says, "Oh my God, they look so sharp. They look this. They look that. They look, they should wear them more often." Do you folks remember the first 20 years or so when they had those uniforms? It represents losing.
Right.
Losing.
Right. Well, it's a fashion statement.
Get rid of them. Just.
Somebody said, I heard something today. I don't know if it was on the radio or TV. Somebody said that the Bucks uniforms are so good looking that somebody should wear it to the Met Gala in New York City. I'm like, but that's what they're seeing. They're seeing like the orange looks good or whatever it may be. Yeah, I get it. You're right because if you look at that, that's the original uniform. Yes. That's the Steve Spurrier uniform, and Steve Spurrier was at the game yesterday, right? And yes. But it does represent losing 0-26 with those uniforms on, never to be beat.
26.
Yeah,
they were the losingest franchise by percentage in North American sports until a certain number 12 came along, and completely changed the culture. But I mean, it really they did it in 1990. I believe it was 98 when they switched uniforms. They did it for a reason, and the reason was. It's the same way the Rays did it. The Rays changed from the green and the gray and everything. They changed their uniforms. You know why? Because, again, it represented losing, and they took the devil out of the Devil Rays. So, and a lot of people are like, oh, I love the Fridays and Saturdays or with the night that they wear the old Devil Rays uniforms. Again, it just represents losing. And I as a Tampa Bay sports fan, done enough losing, okay? I mean, I followed the Bucks since '76. I lived in New York and adopted them, okay?
Yeah. You know what? It does represent losing, but the Buccaneers, when I was living in New York at the time when the Buccaneers started, you were kind of watching it because it was like a weird, unique looking thing. These very flashy uniforms.
They look like pumpkins.
Right. Very flashy uniforms. Couldn't win a game. You're like, you couldn't stop watching it. Like you didn't know. And so I think that their notoriety early on, and it still lingers with them a little bit, even all these years later, it's still, you still talk about the 0-20, they're 0-26, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
It stays with you for a little bit too. So I do understand. Yes, the uniform change was a good one. I thought they did a really nice job with the changing color scheme and the whole thing. I think it looks really good. So yeah, I can dig what you're saying about the uniform. While it's nostalgic, it doesn't bring back a lot of winning fond memories.
No, even Baker Mayfield said after the game, yesterday, if we would have lost this game in the old uniforms, I mean, they haven't been very good luck. No, they haven't. And Tom Brady, the reason they didn't do throwbacks is because Brady refused to wear it.
I believe it. I believe it.
Yeah.
So there's no doubt about that. So, well, again, they're 3-0. It's going to be a heck of a game on Sunday. So we'll see how that all plays out.
I hope it is.
I think it will be. I think the Bucks are good enough to not be overwhelmed. So we'll see how that goes.
All right. And that'll do it for this edition of the 941 Sports Zone. 5 episodes in the can, John. certainly,
Absolutely.
this is the longest one. No question.
And
We have
I'll
a lot
tell you,
to talk about.
yeah, and I'll tell you this though too, Richard. Appreciate everybody who's telling me that they're listening and watching. I really do appreciate it. I know it's being pushed, not so much even in the 941 area code, but all over the place.
Yes.
With, different people are doing this. I went to the banquet for the Hall of Fame and got a lot of. I watched your show and I'm like, okay, which one? You know, and they're like,
watch Frozen
Masoni,
or what did you watch?
Okay, that is my show. Yeah, and Rich's show. It's good. I like that. So yeah, so we do appreciate that, and growth. We got it. We're growing a little bit of an audience, and hopefully it's exponential. And then in a year from now, we're lighting up the tote board with thousands and thousands of watches and listens. So we'll be good to go.
And again, a big thanks to the folks at Mighty Dog Roofing of Southwest Florida for being a sponsor of the 941 Sports Zone.
Absolutely.
So, all right, that'll do it. We'll be back with you next Monday night at 8. Jets and Dolphins will be in the second quarter. So that right there is enough for you to tune in to us.
I'm going to be doing this for a little bit if it's something good. We'll see how it goes, but we'll definitely be interesting to see that game play out.
All right. Well, that'll do it, guys. Take care. So long, everybody.
All right, take care. See ya.